Okay, and I believe we are live. Hopefully I sound okay. I'm in the garage, as you can tell. I am getting my strike temperature up right now, or my strike water up to temperature right now. Let me try to move things around real quick, because I'm not a huge fan of the way this thing looks, so one sec. Let's see, I should maybe move the camera. Yeah, maybe I should move. We'll see how it goes. Let's see. Yeah, so today we're brewing a Smash IPA. Super simple. We will be using Maris Otter as our backbone today. I haven't used Maris Otter in a Smash before. I've used two-row pale malt. That's very common, very common basic base malt. This one in particular has a little bit more of a stronger backbone to it than two-row. So I'm really excited to see how it goes. This beer is going to be used for my wedding. One of four beers I'll be brewing for my wedding later this year. So this is going to be a test. If it goes well, I will be able to essentially solidify it and make sure that this is on the tap list. But until then, we just need to run some tests, and that's what we're doing. Alright, so right now I am working on the temperature. We're almost to mash in, which is good timing because the live stream just started. But right now I need to make some sanitizer as well. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to steal about a half gallon of water from the kettle here. Let me make sure that this is going to be clean first. So I'm just going to use this. Cool. And some still back. Oh, whatever. So I'm just getting a gallon of water, but I already have a half gallon in here. Let's see. Is that a gallon? Where are my markings at? The only downside to these Brewer's Best buckets is I can't really see the markings half the time. Almost. Yeah, it's about a gallon. This should be at about 6.5. It is not. So we'll do a little bit more. So I'm starting my strike volume. So my initial volume today is going to be 6.5 gallons. On my all-in-one kettle, I like to do no sparge. And no, since I'm not sparging, I don't need, usually when you're mashing in, you would mash in with something like 1.5 quarts of water per pound of grain. So I'm working with 15 pounds of grain. So when you math that together, it's going to be something like 4 or 5 gallons, 3-4 gallons. Since I'm not going to be doing a sparge, usually you would use a few more gallons of hot water to trickle over the grain bed, which would get you your boil volume, which for me today is going to be about 6.5 gallons, 6 gallons. Since I'm not doing a sparge, I need all my a full volume mash. So I'm gonna hopefully have about 5 gallons in the fermenter. So I want about 6 or 6.5 as my boil volume. So once it boils down, it should get me, at the end of the boil, about 5 or so gallons. If all goes well, I should be looking at that. But I know that I'm looking at about a gallon and a half of water for grain absorption throughout my grains on this. So I'm calculating for that as well. So I'm looking at, about 6.5 to start, so that it about 5.5 or so gets into the boil, and then after the boil we should be looking at close to about 5 gallons. If it doesn't work, I can just add more water, which will dilute it a little bit and pull away on the ABV, but that is not necessarily bad. So I'm going to do a quick stream check to make sure things look good there. So let's see. Hopefully the music is not either too low or too high. If it is, let me know.
And that close to about 5 gallons.
Oops.
If it doesn't work.
So that looks fine. Let me pull up the other live stream because I'm streaming to both Twitch and YouTube. If the chat is working, it should pop up in the bottom left. I should move that later, but that looks okay for now. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get my grain bag into. I'm not going to use the metal grain basket. I find that it's really, really hard to clean at the end of the day. So I'm going to use a grain bag, old school brew in a bag here. So hopefully that works out well. I'm going to go ahead and get that together. Hopefully I have a clean one. Yes, I do. Okay, so this one should work just fine. So today I'm going to be using a nylon grain bag instead of the metal basket. Hopefully this works out well for me. I don't see why it wouldn't. I'm just going to set that up there for now. I'm going to go ahead and get this in. I find that when I use the grain basket, one, it's really hard to clean, and I've noticed a really big difference in mash temp from the grain basket and the temperature probe that sits at the very bottom, which is kind of typical. That's not anything new necessarily, but in this case, I don't want that because I've been really trying to nail in my mash as of late because I've been having less than full-on success with some of my brews. So I'm trying to change that. And here we are experimenting. I'm hoping that the brew in the nylon bag will fare a little bit better for my mash efficiency, which is just making sure you get as much sugar that the grains will allow for. Let's see, I'm trying to make sure this this bag, it does not get all the way to the bottom. It's going to expand here once I get the grains in. I should probably put them in a bucket. Okay. All right, so I do have an action cam, which I'm excited to use. Really, it's a GoPro that's just off camera here. I'm gonna try to use that to show off, so that way I don't have to move. I'm using my video camera as my webcam right now. It's a long story, but I recently got some new equipment that would allow me to plug this in and use it as a webcam. So I'm going to use that as my main camera. That's what you're seeing right now. That's why things are so clear compared to my previous ones. And I'm also going to use a GoPro as an action cam, so I can get that very close to the kettle, if not in it, to be able to show off some of the other cool things that I'm able to do. You know, tossing in the hops, the boils, you know, all that stuff. The whirlpool arm. Some of those things I just couldn't use previously, or I could use them, but I couldn't show off how they work. I'm hoping to use this footage for future videos. So rather than taking a moment to put together a script to record a clip, talk about the clip, and then use it for editing later, I'm going to try to use the live stream and edit that down for the first part of my grain to glass videos. So here's to saving myself some time in the future. Let's see if it works. But I'm going to go ahead and get my grains in a bucket, because the bucket is much easier to pour into the kettle. And if you have any feedback, any whatsoever, be it good or bad, put it in the comment section, put it in the chat if you are watching live, so I can know how things look, how things sound. It's really hard for me to test it live. I can go about testing it and testing it not live, sort of, but I don't really have that time. So this is my first test for all of this. I have plug and played to make sure things were compatible, but this is my first time putting it all together. So hopefully it's looking good. Hopefully it sounds good. From my end, it looks okay, but I can't see what you see. So hopefully things look good. All right, so grains are gonna go into the bucket, and I'm gonna apologize for the noise. I thought I had music playing. I don't know what happened there. Turn that up a little. Oh, I think I turned my computer down. I don't. If you happen to hear the audio for the music twice, let me know, because my mic is close to my speakers, and I've got it set to play, of course, record sound, make so that you can hear both. Wow, that is a weird sentence. I'm gonna mute this mic real quick so that you can't hear all this plastic. Alright, so as you could tell, I was having a little trouble with that because I made the mistake of not opening the bag all the way, and it was essentially stuck because I couldn't lift it too high, otherwise the grains were just going to go everywhere. So I had to slowly just kind of tear the bag along to open it up to get the grains in. But I've got the grains in the bucket now. Time to put this action cam to use, so let's see how that's gonna look. Let's see. Yeah, so GoPro. I'm not great with mirrors, so this is really, really tough for me, and I'm gonna apologize. So I'm gonna turn my music down just a little bit. Alright, cool. That way it's less likely that you're hearing both. So what's really nice about Maris Otter is it's not going to be as pale as your typical IPA that uses 2-row as a base malt. This is going to provide like a nice, I don't want to say straw colored, but it's going to be not quite yellow or orangish. It's going to be closer to the brown side of the spectrum when it comes to IPAs. Something close to like a lighter version of 512 IPA. I know I talk about that beer a lot, so hopefully that's something that is, for lack of a better term, relatable, because I've brought it up so many times. So I'm just gonna do live stream, transition, boom, just like that, action cam. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put my grains in. We're about to mash it in. Usually we're about 45 minutes into the live stream before I can do this, and 20 minutes ain't that bad. So here we are. My temp is falling just a little bit, but that's typical. I'm gonna need to measure a couple more times just to make sure that my temperature is right. So I've got another temperature probe that I'm gonna use that I'm going to put inside the grain bed actually. So this is what I use for my other mash tun, the 16-gallon mash tun that I have, to help me know what the temperature is and what it's looking like. Well, the temperature probe that's in my all-in-one kettle is all the way on the bottom, and it's not a huge deal it being on the bottom, but with the grain basket in and then the grains having their own temperature as well, it's really hard to get a good accurate reading, which is why I'm using the nylon bag this time, as well as this temperature probe here. So I'm just going to use this, set it kind of probably on the top in the middle, and I'm just going to leave the actual display outside so that I can see what temperature it is. So I'm going to set this off to the side for now, and then just put it in when the grains are in, which is going to be now. So again, 15 pounds of Maris Otter going in. Personally, I just put all the grains in at once and then do all the stirring after. It's not necessarily a bad move, but really it's just a little bit easier doing that than taking it, doing a break. I mean, I have to now just because it's settling, but so I guess I'm not just gonna put it all at once. You typically would though. So breaking all this up to make sure there's no dough balls. My temperature is falling a bit, so the heating element just turned back on. I'm gonna mash in at about 152. I think that's a solid. Actually, I should probably go 148. 150, I think, is a good number. So I'm gonna set this to 150 before it's too late. Set. That way it doesn't turn on too hot. The burner doesn't turn on too hot. Because if it does, then I would run into a lot of the same issues that I always do. I'm just gonna set that there. I'll have to strain that out anyway. Or just get another gallon of water and put it in a different bucket. I guess I'm gonna have to do that for my sanitizer. Okay. Continuing the mashing. My volume is getting pretty full right now, probably just because of the sheer amount of water that's in it at first. It will die down here as the grains soak it up, but I'm gonna need to make some room here because I do want to get my entire grain bill inside the kettle here. So. I am going to try to recirculate this as well. I think that may help with my mash efficiency too. So I'm going to try to hook it up to my pump eventually, maybe for the last, as I try to ramp up for mash out maybe. I may need to pull some water off and kind of dump it. I may not be able to use that. I did get 15 pounds of mare solder, which is a lot for a 5-gallon batch. That would usually get you something like a 6% or so, 6%, maybe like 6. I need to double check, but over 6% IPA. I am going to be shooting for about 5, but since I'm not doing a sparge, I'm not going to be able to trickle any extra sugar off the grain bed. So I'm just getting more initial sugars in. I may need to pull some water off though and add some later. Wow, that could have been bad. My bag is kind of coming off here. Yeah, I may need to pull some water just so that I can continue getting my grain bill in. It's getting a little bit better though. Yeah, it's getting a bit better. I can see it. I guess the grains are doing their thing. Cool. It's looking a bit better. Going for it, going big. All right, so I am, all my grains are in, which is awesome. I'm gonna have to continue double checking this bag, especially as things move around inside, and as well as I move things around, because I do not want this to fall in, because if it does, it defeats the entire purpose of the bag. I'm making sure there's no dough balls right now, especially since I layered the grains in. I want to make sure that everything is nice and even, that everything is covered, so that we get a nice, good mash. I'm going to take a temperature reading of the grain bed as well, so here in a bit I'm going to go ahead and put my temperature probe in. Alright, that looks good, that looks good. I'm going to need a different lid because this one has essentially a sparge arm on it for circulation. So I'm not going to put this on because that's just going to be right amongst all the grains and stuff. So I'm going to put on a different lid, which I put, oh no, did I put them inside the mash tun? I did. I cleaned it the last time I used it, but I haven't used it recently, so it hasn't been cleaned in a hot minute. Alrighty, so I'm going to just take this guy, and I think something like that would work. Something like that might work. Alright, and we are officially mashed in at 11:30. So I'm gonna go for a 1-hour mash. I'm gonna test it along the way until it's the gravity stays the same, the pre-boil gravity, until it flattens out. But I'm gonna shoot for an hour at 150. Apologize for the background noise. I was looking at better mics, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. At least not right now. Okay. All right, so we are officially mashed in. Brew day has just started. So here we are, just some people in a garage. Thanks for, if you're watching, thank you. I do see that there is one viewer. That could just be myself because I have a test stream open, so it's probably just me. But if that's the case, thanks for watching if you are watching this. I try to brew at least every weekend, every other weekend. I get about I do 5-gallon batches, and I split at packaging, which means I keg half and I bottle the other half. I go out from time to time. I see friends and family every now and then. So I like to bring beer with me, considering it's a hobby of mine, a passion of mine. So I try to bring beer with me a lot of places that I go. So keeping some on hand is always a good idea. And that's what I've been doing lately. So I've been brewing 5-gallon batches and putting half in bottles and half on tap. Mostly because it's good to, like I said, to spread the wealth, so to speak. But also 20 gallons of beer, that's a lot of beer for myself to go through, myself and my fiance to go through. That's just a lot. So cutting that in half is very, very handy. I'm gonna trust the temperature probe, the one that's down here, over the one in the kettle, because this is actually amongst the grains. The other is actually outside the bag, the nylon bag that I have. So hopefully this goes well. I should probably update I'm gonna make sure titles and everything look good. That looks good. Let's see. I guess that was only a Twitch thing. I don't think I can update the title on my YouTube stream. It doesn't matter. I was just gonna put brew in a bag, but it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Oh, oops. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and write this in. For those that haven't seen it, this is my handy dandy beer journal that an old coworker of mine, a client of mine, gave to me. And I've been using it over the last few brews so that I can try to make each one better than the last. That's always the plan. And up until recently, it's been really hard to, I've got the recipes, so I know what went into it, and I have general ideas as to what I did to make it mine. But it's just nice to get some of that on paper, especially if I'm messing around with, this is my own recipe, so to speak. I knew I wanted to do a really simple IPA for the wedding. So I just went with how basic can you get? You can't get more basic than a Smash IPA. So I went with Maris Otter as my malt, and El Dorado as my hop. I really, really, really like El Dorado hops. I think they're my kind of tropical, where they're not too juicy like some other popular hops out there, but I think it's a really good hop. I like the colors or the flavors that it provides. I think I'm going with 6 ounces for this IPA, which is kind of a lot, but I'm gonna do about a half ounce at the boil, so I don't want it to be terribly bitter. I'll probably do an ounce at the boil. No, I should probably do a half ounce at top of boil, a half ounce halfway through, and then I think I'm doing like 3 ounces for a whirlpool, and then 3 for a dry hop. So big beer. I'm excited. I did get a pretty good deal on the hops themselves. I was looking at getting just 6 different ounces, but I was able to get an entire a half pound for about $5 less. So I was pretty much getting 2 ounces for free, which obviously I'm going to take advantage of. So I've got the hops behind me, the yeast behind me. You can probably see it over my shoulder there. Yeah, this should go well. I'm excited. I do need to make sanitizer at some point, so don't let me forget about that. But this should be a really good brew day. Let me go ahead and get some of this stuff written in the journal here. I also have our water profile written out in case I decide to take the leap into water chemistry. Really, water chemistry is is exactly that. You're altering the chemistry of your water for your brew. Usually with just salt, you can start with a base of diluted water, distilled water, and go from there and build up, or you can take your current water and kind of tweak it to match the profile that you want. Malty beers have a certain profile that it likes, and then the other end of the spectrum, like dry, hoppy beers, have their own. So it all kind of depends. on what you're looking for, but I did the research and wrote it all out for when that time comes. Just kind of flipping through here. So I do have a name for the beer. It's called Wedding Smashers. Appropriately named because I am, as I mentioned earlier, brewing this for the wedding. My wedding is in August, so that's going to be fun. But I'll be providing all the beer for it. So I'm doing a test run right now of those brews. So I've got Wedding Smashers IPA. Sour Special Day, that's going to be my raspberry sour that I'm going to bring back out. And the other one that I have, I'm working on a pseudo lager, going to be called Light of My Life, Lite. All wedding puns, and I'm still working on a fourth. I'm going to bring the Hazelnut Porter back around and do that again. I'm still working on the name though, so. Alright, so I mashed in at 150, 148. Yeah, I mashed in at 148. Mash at 148. I'm going to leave that for now. I like to write out the gravity readings as I take them. I'm not going to take one just yet. There would be a little bit of starch and enzyme conversion right now, so those starches, when the grains are soaked in this water at a certain temperature, the enzymes are converted to sugar. And there's an error on the kettle. I wonder why that is. There shouldn't be an error in the kettle right now. Let me figure that out. So it just shut off, which means when I have to turn it off, I'm probably gonna have to reset it. So that's fun. There's a reset button on the bottom, so maybe there are some slots on this the shelf that I have. So hopefully I can press the button through it and not have to worry about lifting the kettle up. Error dry. How is it dry? What's dry? I guess the bag might be on the temperature probe maybe, or the bag is on the heating element at the bottom. So I can try to lift it maybe. Yeah, I'm just kind of getting grains all over the place now. I mean, there isn't very much that I can do about that. So I guess I can just hope that it doesn't come back. I do need to get it turned on because if I lose too much temperature, I may not get the starch conversion that I want. So I'm gonna turn the power off, and I will not be able to reach the button under it. Doesn't look like I have to. And to just air it out again. Okay, so I might need to lift the bag then. Okay. Hopefully this goes well. I mean, doing something like this just introduces a whole slew of issues, but I guess we're just gonna have to hope that we don't get it. I really don't want to displace the grain bed because if I do, I'm gonna lose volume. Because this is almost at the very brim of the kettle, so I'm gonna have to pull some wort out, but I can probably put it back, so that's good. I'm just gonna leave that as it is. I need a bucket ASAP. Oh, I love that color. Okay, that is heavy water, or a heavy bag. So I'm gonna turn this back off, on to 148. I'm gonna do it to 150. That way it can at least, oh, and it just aired out again. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reset it seems, and that's gonna be really tough. It just says dry. It says error dry. I don't really know what that means. So I may just have to lift it here and maybe have my fiance come out and reset it. So I'm gonna, oh, what's up, Don? Good to see you, man. Yeah, the raspberry sour is probably the best beer that I've brewed. I've brewed quite a few beers over the last year and a half or so that I've been home brewing. I brewed quite a bit, and I think the raspberry sour has gotten the most feedback and the best feedback. So I'm really excited to bring that back around. IPAs, yeah, those are my favorite. If you've watched any of my videos, it's probably mentioned at least once how much I like IPAs. I love IPAs mostly because IPA means a lot these days. So it's really cool to see what someone's interpretation is. So that's really cool. I like brewing them, so I like drinking them. I like drinking them, which makes makes it easy to brew them. So that's been fun. Yeah, I'm really excited for this one, so I'm hoping that it goes well. We're not off to a great start, but we are off. I can probably leave it alone, to be honest with you. I mean, as long as it stays within a certain temperature, it should be fine. Let me get my temperature probe back in it, because if it's off, it's not going to tell me, or if it's erroring, it's not going to tell me the temperature. So let me just get my temperature probe back in it. Because we might still be close to 10. And as long as it hasn't lost very, very much, we might be okay. 144, 145. Yeah, I'm gonna pour this back on and just close it back up. This water is gonna be kind of a little bit hotter too, or this wort. So that should bring the temp back up just a little bit. I'm gonna put the lid back on. I'm just gonna kind of leave that as is, because if I mess with it, I might lose a little bit. So 144. Okay, yeah, that's going. Yeah, let me put that further. Okay, so that temperature is going to slowly creep up for just a little bit. I'm going to rinse my hands off real quick. I may need help later getting this, getting it lifted so that I can reset it. I may just turn this, I may put up my intermission page for that. That way you don't have to deal with that, but because it's gonna need to get, there's the downside to this electric kettle. It's on the affordable side, so there are some shortcuts, and I'm not sure what this one is about, but if there are issues with it, if something happens, it'll give you an error, and that error you can just look up and see specifically what's going on. But usually it means you have to reset it. Something is going on. In my case, I think the grain bag was on the heating element, so it was kind of throwing it for a loop. So it aired out to not cause any further damage, any damage. But the reset switch is on the bottom of it. So you have to turn it off, lift it, and press the button on the bottom. And that's not generally a big issue if you're like cleaning it or something, or if it's like a small brew, but this is gonna be really, really heavy. So it's gonna be a lot of fun getting that, getting that reset. I'd be interested in trying some. I can, since I've been bottling some, I'm not sure if you were in at the time when I mentioned it, but I do bottle about half of my beer, and it's probably gonna happen here as well. So I'll bottle some and I'll try to save some, make sure it's got your name on it, that way it doesn't go anywhere. But yeah, I can make that happen. There are ways to ship beer or ship yeast samples. Shipping beer isn't legal necessarily, but you can ship liquid yeast samples. So I could look into shipping you a liquid yeast sample. If you're still in the Fort Keller, Fort Worth area, I can drop one off sometimes. I'm over there every now and then, once a month or so, once every other month. So I can drop one off, we can hang out. We can figure it out. So we're about 15 minutes into our mash, and technically have only lost 1 degree. So I'm probably just gonna let it ride. I think this version of the starch that's going to get converted to the sugar, I think I'm good for about another 8 degrees or so. I don't think I don't think you fall out of starch conversion until like 140, 138, and we're at 147 right now. At least the top of the grain bed is. It might be a little bit different towards the middle and the bottom, but for now it seems to be doing okay. Of course, it might drop those 8 degrees in the rest of the 45 minutes we have. But we'll see. There's only one way to find out. I'm just gonna let it ride. I'm not gonna deal with the error until later, until I get the grain bag out, because the grain bag is gonna be what's gonna be the heaviest. The grains themselves are 15 pounds of grain. The kettle itself is probably another 10 or 15. It's not terribly heavy, but those grains are soaking wet, and there's still a bunch of water in it. So that's really gonna be getting causing just making it a little bit heavier. So I may just wait until I sparge to get that figured out. I don't know what I'm gonna do about the sparge. I may need to get like a colander or something, or I may just get it to a boil and put it in a bucket or something and let it drain that way, and then just add the runnings from the bucket to it. We'll see. We're at 146 now, so maybe I do need to do something about that temperature. Let me think. I can try to find it below it, and if I can find something else to press it, I can try that. So let me figure that out. I know about where the reset switch is, so this shouldn't be too hard. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty hard. I wonder if unplugging it counts as resetting it. Oh, we just lost another degree. And it just errored. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to do something about that. We'll see. I'll figure it out. Okay, I get it. It's there. Let's see. How's this part looking? Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that alone for now until it does get to that low conversion rate, and then I'll figure the rest out. Once it does start, I just dropped again. Okay, I'm gonna need to do something about that. So let me see if I can get a little help in getting that button pressed. I'm just gonna turn up the music just a little bit, and I'm gonna turn on my intermission page. So give me just a couple minutes to get this reset so that I can turn that heating element back on. Okay, so I was able to get it lifted and turn it on or reset it, so it seems to be, the heating element seems to be back on for now. I'm going to stir it up a little bit because my temperature probe is saying 137. So I'm going to stir it up because the kettle is saying 148. It says we're still at temp, but that's just the temperature of the water. Set that up for now. Yeah, if anything, I guess I should have just used the grain basket, but used the temperature probe this way anyway. I think that might have helped. I'm not really sure. But I bet this is still on the bottom there. Okay. Alright, so I'm just going to hope this continues going okay and doesn't get worse. I can't imagine that it actually would, but if it would, it would go bad, because this is my live stream we're talking about. Things just happen. Messes are made, dogs get out. I'm just gonna stir these up again just to make sure that since I've been messing with the grain bed, that there's no dough balls. I wanna make sure that each part of the grains are covered. So I'm just gonna put this back. I don't want the bag to fall in, so I'm gonna pull that back out and put the temperature probe back in. Wow, this is gonna be, I'm gonna have to make a couple extra efforts to make sure that this is nice and clear, because there's for sure gonna be some grains and shells and things like that amongst the water, amongst the wort. So that's gonna be fun. Cool, so that looks good. Pulling back on the bag just to make sure it stays off the burner, because that's probably what happened in the first place. Again, I probably should have just used the metal basket that it came with, because that probably would, that would at least keep it off of the bottom. I didn't want to do that for a couple reasons. One, because I've noticed big temperature differences using that metal basket, and it's really hard to clean. I mentioned that earlier, but it's really, really, really hard to clean sometimes. So this would just be easier for me. So that says 143, 145. Okay, so the temp is going back up. That's good, as long as it doesn't error out on us again in the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes. We should be all right. I'm gonna go ahead and give let's do an action cam again, and show what the kettle looks like right now. How about this? Let me do one of these first. So nothing too exciting yet, but it does, things are looking a little bit better. They're definitely looking up based on the other, just based on the error we were getting and stuff. So I'm cool with that. I need one of those things where you press the button and it swaps you between scenes and stuff. That would be cool. I can get that on my phone, then I have to download an app and all this other stuff. I'm gonna pour myself some homebrew. This is the part where it's appropriate to drink your homebrew while you brew homebrew, especially since nothing is going on. Watch my brewery for me. Keep an eye on it. I'm gonna be right back. Let me pour myself a little something. Alrighty, no error, so that's good. So today, currently, and I'm working on some new. Sorry about that. Some new series for the channel. I'm working on what I'm gonna call Between the Taps, or In the Tap Room, or Tap Room Tuesday, or something like that. But I really want to showcase some of the beers that don't get videos, especially for those that I live stream and just don't make a video for. When I get into the habit of a quality live stream, I'm probably going to live stream every brew. That doesn't mean every brew day is going to become a video, much like right now. But I think I might, once I get into the habit of it again, live streaming my brew days. But there are I do make some pretty good beer that doesn't make, actually, the Hazelnut Porter, which is probably the second best beer that I didn't get a video. I think I discussed it and we talked about it, but I don't think it was an actual video about it. So, wow, my dog is going crazy. One second. Okay. Apparently trucks are not allowed to be outside when Tucker is here. Okay. But I'm thinking of doing a video series showcasing the beers that don't get videos. At least just saying what they look like, a very brief, it might be a 5-minute, 10-minute video, but really just a rundown of what's been going on with the brewery that doesn't get its own video. So hopefully that once I get into the habit of things, I'm able to do that. I'm also working on a video or a series called By the Dice or something like that. I'm still workshopping the name, obviously, but I found some dice at a dollar store that are like large dice that have space that you can write on it. One sec. But dice that you can write on. And I really want to see what would happen if I wrote beer characteristics like hoppy, citrus, malty, like a kind of a, for say flavor and aroma, and then like body and flavor or something like that. I don't really know yet, but I know I can put this to use, and I want to make a video about it and just roll the dice. And we'll just call it Roll the Dice, dude. That's what it's called. It'll just be called Roll the Dice, and hopefully it's a good beer. That's the whole point. Take a chance. Hopefully it's a good beer. But right on these, just very generic, not very generic, but hopefully some, fun types of beer, and have this brew essentially put a recipe together for us. Again, I could do dry, hoppy, maybe I could do all on one and roll one dice twice, and then one is like a light beer and one is a dark beer or something. I don't know yet. I'm still figuring out the specifics of it, but we'll see. Wow. Alrighty. So temperature probe is saying the kettle is saying 145, while my external probe is saying 148. I'm gonna trust the external one because that's just the temperature of the probe inside the kettle at the bottom, while the other one, the external one, is actually in the grain bed. So I'm gonna trust that one a little bit more. Today we're drinking a strawberry kiwi blonde that I brewed in the last live stream. I believe that was the latest live stream, or 2 live streams ago maybe. But it's good. It was fantastic when we first tapped the keg. I was a big fan. Slowly after time, some of the flavor went away and just kind of became a tartness and a bitterness. It's kind of a flavored bitter now, or almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like a goze, more than it was is a pale or a sour. It's not quite sour. It's more bitter, more tart. That's not necessarily bad. Strawberry, can offer a flavor like that, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I'm not upset. It tastes good. I am trying to kick this one so that I can make way for the wedding beers, though, the wedding lineup. Again, I'm still workshopping the name on the dark beer, but I want 3 light beers, two light beers, a pale, and a sour. I'm sorry, 2 light beers, a sour, and a porter. Am I able to remove that comment? I don't want, or that Twitch comment there. How can I guess I'm not logged in onto my Twitch right now. Wow, this is all happening very quickly. If you can't read it, and you should be able to, but on the off chance that you can't, there's a Twitch comment that I'm going to try to see about removing. Let's see if this works. I've never done this before. It's just, if you can't see it, it's just mentioning buying followers, and I don't want to do that. I don't want that in my chat, especially since I have it set for the chat to not go away, I don't think. Let's see, isn't there a mod mode? Let's see. Temp is still looking good. While I'm doing this, I figured it wouldn't be a bad time to go over the other beers that I have lined up, as well as the hop selection for this. I did discuss it a little bit earlier, but let's see. Well, it actually looks pretty good, all things considered. Yeah, I thought there was a way to view this in mod mode, theater mode, full screen, edit, share. I think that's a report button. Yeah, I'm not going to report myself, but there it is, mod view. Here we go. Goodbye, comment. Skip all. Okay. Alright, can I delete the message at least? I won't ban them necessarily because this might have been a person. But can I just remove the chat? Report, quick whisper. Hopefully that worked. It probably didn't, but we'll see. I'll figure the rest out later. Yeah, I would like this message gone though. I bet I could just reset the chat bot on my live stream and it'll go. Perfect. Cool. Problem solved. All right. So let me grab my. And I do have some of these recipes. I don't want to say published necessarily, but I did upload them to Brewger. Brewger is one of many homebrew software tools that you can use. I should probably get a gravity reading. That wouldn't be a bad idea right now. But I'm going to use Brewger to save my recipes. Again, this one is a Smash IPA, so single malt and single hop. The single malt is Maris Otter, and the single hop is going to be El Dorado. So I've got a half pound of El Dorado hops that I'll be adding most of those hops to this. It's not going to be very bitter, but this is going to hopefully be an in-between for between an IPA and a hazy IPA. Hopefully it's going to be clear like an IPA, but I don't want it to be bitter like your standard IPA. I want it to be flavorful and juicy, kind of like a hazy IPA is. So I'm kind of trying to find a middle ground. The yeast that I'm using is Yeast 1332 American Ale, I think, Northwest Ale. So 1332 Northwest Ale yeast. I've already activated it, smacked the pack. You know how it is. But yeah, this is some lively yeast. I'm hoping that this yeast should take care of exactly what we need. I'm hoping to get, like I said, hopefully maybe 5 gallons in the fermenter, maybe a little bit less depending on the gravity, which I should probably get. But we will see. I'm hoping that the gravity will, I'm hoping for about a 5.5% beer, maybe 5.2 if I can make it happen. With a 15-pound grain bill, you would usually get over 6%, and I can double check. I can look at my recipe real quick. I probably should, considering I mentioned going over the recipes. But log in. I'm also looking at getting a bigger table for this so that I can have the camera, the laptop, and like all my entire brew recipe ready. Luckily, this is super simple because it's just a single malt, single hop, so I don't have to do anything crazy. The hops, I've just gotten one big bag, so I'm just letting that hang out for now. Okay, all right, ads. So with 15 pounds of grains and a typical sparge, your regular 3-vessel brew day would give you an estimated gravity of about 1074, which would give you a 6.6% ABV. This does put the final gravity at 1023, which is pretty high. I'm thinking that's just because I only put that, my recipe is calling for 1 package of yeast. 1 package of yeast probably couldn't take care of a 7% beer on its own, but I'm not expecting this to actually be 1074 as the original gravity. I'm hoping for like a 1062, 1062 wouldn't be too bad, 1064. Again, I did up the grain bill just a little bit. Typically for a beer of that strength, you would want like 12 pounds of grains, 12, 13 pounds, between like 11 and 13 if you were doing your typical 3-vessel. For about a 6% beer, less than 6%. Since I'm doing a no sparge, full volume, all-in-one brew in a bag, I went with a higher mash-in volume at about 6.5 gallons, and I added a couple pounds of extra of grains just to make sure that I'm getting all the sugars that I can to make up for what would have been a sparge. So I'm not expecting a 1074. I have this so that I can get the rest of the things together. So I have about the IBUs because that's going to be accurate. The color should be pretty accurate. So things like that, it's going to help make it a little bit easier for me just to kind of follow. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Okay. Cool. Had a package delivered earlier, so that's cool. I've been trying to get things that will truly up my homebrew game. My next step is going to be into temperature control. So I'm hoping to, again, as I mentioned earlier, some of my beers kind of have missed the mark on efficiency as well as ABV and long-term flavor as well. As the beer ages, the profile kind of changes just a little bit, and I'm going to try to narrow that down because I don't want the beer to change over time. If it's in a bottle, I get that. If it's conditioning, I get that. But it's not doing either of those right now. The strawberry kiwi blonde that I'm drinking right now, it tastes fine. It tastes good, but it tasted fantastic, fresh. Like when it was new, when it was green, it was fantastic. And it's not so green now. Not for any particular reason, just because it's been sitting there. It's been aging. So. Not that that's necessarily bad, but I'm going to unblock this the person that I blocked earlier, just because I kind of feel bad that I blocked only because they put a generic bot chat in there. So I'm just gonna unblock them. If the chat comes back up, I'll just clean it. I'll just clean it up. It's not a big deal. All right. So we have about 15 minutes left in the mash. I'm gonna go ahead and do a gravity reading now, and then maybe one in 5 or 10 minutes. If it does change, I will probably. What is it? What am I gonna do? I don't know. We'll see. To reduce noise, I did. My garage is only half open right now. It's still, just enough light for the stream, but it is only half open, so I may need to do something about that later. I should do maybe 2 gravity readings, one from the spigot and one from the kettle. We'll see what that looks like. Let me get my refractometer. I have a hydrometer too. Well, my test tube for it got a crack in it, so I probably can't use that right now. But let's just see what our gravity is looking like. Okay, so I'm a bit worried that if I take it from up here, there's going to be particles and stuff in it, which would change the gravity, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Hopefully that background noise isn't unbearable as it is here, but that's okay. And I just got my sample everywhere. Awesome. Alrighty, let's see what our gravity is looking like here. We're looking at about 1043. Yep, 1043. That's a solid pre-boil gravity. And I can tell there's still more to go. So that's a good thing. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit and get it ready for another sample, because I am gonna pull a second sample from the spigot and see if it's any different. It might be, just because the concentration might be a little bit higher at the top than at the bottom. Alrighty, let's see. So the first one was about 1043. Let's see what this one's going to be. There are more particulates in this. Yeah, there are quite a few. It's a bit higher, actually. I would expect it to be the other way around. This is sitting at 1052. Which is an even better start pre-boil gravity, but so I'm just going to continue letting it ride. We do have about 15 minutes left in the boil. I'm sorry, the 15 minutes left in the mash. So I'll probably check gravity again in maybe 10 and 5. If it changes, that tells us that there's still a little bit of conversion that needs to be done. I'm going to let it get as converted as possible. Yeah, I want to convert as much as I can. As far as if I do get more than 5 gallons, I wouldn't know what to do, or if the gravity's too high. If it is higher than where I want it to be before I pitch the yeast, I may need to add some water. I don't know what I would do with that. Actually, I could probably, I would need more yeast. And I can't get that on a Sunday. Yeah, I would need some more yeast. If I had done a starter, I could put it in separate buckets. Like if I get 7, 8 gallons, for instance, at whatever preferred gravity, I could split it amongst fermenters, but I would need 2 packs of yeast, and I don't have 2 packs of yeast. I could still pitch 1 pack into one, and then just put some kill any headspace with CO2 and seal it. Yeah, I wouldn't even know. What could I do? It almost seems like I would have to. I could put it in the biggest fermenter that I have. I wouldn't even know what to do. I wouldn't know. If you're just tuning in, thanks for watching. Thanks for clicking. Right now we're getting towards the tail end of our mash. So right now in my electric kettle over here, let me move. I don't know why I'm so far away. Let me get in a good spot for the camera. Right now, we're at about the tail end of our mash. The mash right now, we're going on about 48 minutes of the 1 hour boil. Wow, I keep saying boil. The 1 hour mash. Right now, I'm just letting the grains sit in 148 degree water so that the starches and enzymes in the grains can get converted to sugar. That sugar is going to get eaten up by the yeast to produce alcohol, and after that we will have beer. So this is arguably one of the more important parts of the brew day, and I really am trying to nail this part because I've messed up my mash over the last 2 or 3 brews. Whether it's one thing or another, usually just distraction, something pulling me away and I'm not paying attention. The temperature gets higher than where I want it to be, or something to that effect. Why is my music so quiet? Hopefully that's not too loud. So right now I'm just letting that finish up. I'm gonna do another gravity reading in probably like 3 or 4 minutes to see if the gravity is changing at all. If it's continuing to change, that tells us there's still conversion that can be done, which is a good thing because that means we can get more sugar out of it. But I do need to consider this may be stronger than I'm expecting it to be, considering really, I guess we'll see what the volume looks like because I may end up having to add water. When I lift the bag, the brew bag up, as you would imagine, there's still quite a bit of there's probably a few gallons of water of wort, and the rest is going to be in the grain bed. So I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to drain that. Usually I would just lift the basket up. I could probably put the grain bag in the basket and put the basket above it like we typically do, and let it drain out that way. I don't have a colander. I don't think a colander would work for that, not properly at least, because the bag is just going to be so big. So I could probably just take the basket, put the basket in a bucket. Let me see. This is going to be a little. It wouldn't fit in there because there's a temperature probe. I could do this. I can set this on the ground. This is my old original kettle. I can use this. I could put my brew basket in it. And I can set the grain bag in it, and then it'll drain. I can take the grain bag with the brew basket out and just pour what's in the kettle inside it. Or I can just take the grain bag, put it inside the grain basket, and set it up so that it can drain into the kettle. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's most efficient. But so far so good. With regards to the error that happened, things are still looking good. I do like using the brew bag so far with even consider, well, if the error were not there, this would have been flawless so far. But I do like using the brew bag so far just because when using the basket, the sugars and stuff, kind of when I mentioned when I pulled the sample from the spigot, I wouldn't get much sugar in that sample if I had the grain basket in it, because all of the liquid, all of the wort, is essentially in the grain basket. And yes, there's water displaced outside of the grain basket, but not much until you pull the grain basket up and all of the liquid kind of falls through to the grains. That's not necessarily bad, but it makes it hard to get accurate samples. Especially if you are, I want to get it from different spots just because there may be more sugar in one place than there is in the other. especially like this. When there's two different temperatures and things like that, it's a little hard to get accurate readings, but we're trying. We're out here. Hopefully this is still going well. I mean, things are going okay right now. My brewery's a mess. I've been working on rearranging it so that I can, one, have like a prettier setup. But if I'm going to live stream, I want it to look good. So this is arguably the best that I could do without having just a blank wall behind me. I could move this over and have this like wall be the brew house, but I like having everything close because I don't know what I need, because I need all kinds of crazy stuff throughout the entire brew day. I'm needing something different, whether that's inside, out here, in my home office. There's just a lot of scrambling half the time, and eventually I'll be able to consolidate and keep everything in one place. But I don't have a dedicated. This is my dedicated space for it. I mean, I take up a lot of space. This is a hobby that takes up a lot. So this is almost the best that I can do right now without spending even more money on this whole thing. And there's already been quite a bit that's gone into it, as you would imagine. But hey, I'm having fun, staying busy. So the heating element is turning on right now. The grain bed is showing 147, while the kettle is showing 142. So I can tell that the heating element's turning on. I can see it turning on. I can hear it now, and you may be able to pick that up in the mic here soon. That should change by next brew day. I should be able to get some microphones, because with all the background noise and the dogs and the cars and the trucks, and it makes it really hard to one, focus, but two, hear me properly, because the microphone is over here, and I don't even know if this is a good place for it. So I'm hoping that I can upgrade and get some new mics, and not have to worry about that, especially considering how much I'm looking around, not even looking at the mic. When I'm at the kettle, I'm looking away entirely. But it is what it is. So let's see. I'm probably gonna just let it continue going. So we're about 5 minutes left in the 1 hour mash. I guess now is not a bad time to do another sample. Alrighty, let's see what we're working with here. Okay, I just lost most of the sample. Okay, so second gravity reading in, and it is still about that 1043 actually. So that could tell us a couple things, that the starch conversion is done, or I did grab it from a different place, so that gravity could just be coincidentally close to that of the first sample I took, but we will see. I'm gonna do one more. If it's still from that one, I got a 1052 I think, or something like that on the spigot. Should have written it out. I usually do, but I didn't this time. Make sure this is empty. Alrighty. So this color is fantastic. I'm a big fan of that color. That's why I chose Maris Otter, because it's got a heavier malty backbone, and that was exactly what I wanted out of this IPA. I wanted it to be nice and bold, just because I really like 512 IPA and how bold it is. So I'm kind of going big here on this one. So this one is actually, from the spigot, it's higher. It's even higher. It's 1056 on the spigot. So that's kind of cool. I'm gonna let it continue going. We do have 3 minutes left in the mash, so I'm gonna let it go. Probably another 10 minutes after, 5 minutes after. If it keeps going, I'm probably just gonna let it continue, because currently I don't even know how much what the volume is looking like, and that's gonna be the biggest factor in our gravity and our efficiency. is that initial volume. Am I gonna have to add water or anything like that? We'll see. So that's what I'm waiting on. But we'll see. There's a few minutes left, so we'll let it ride. This new method of not touching it, well, usually what would happen, especially with the mashes that I would make a mistake on, usually what would happen, I really want to taste this. I think I'm going to. Weird. It tastes weird. I mean, I've tried, I've had wort before, so it's just sugary. There's, of course, yeah, it's just sugary water. There is a little bit of a profile to it already, just because the Maris Otter, it is a little bit malty, and that's kind of cool, because I've never just had Maris Otter water before. Maris water, if you will. But I do like using this other this external probe, because previously when my electric kettle would say, hey, the temperature is dropping to, let's say it's 5 degrees below, I would turn the heater on and then look away like an idiot. I would look away, or something would distract me, and I would not remember that the heating element is on, and the temperature would rise, and for who knows how long, and that usually results in a longer chain of sugars that gets produced, which leaves more sugar to be fermented. Well, that sugar generally can't be fermented, so it's just unfermentable sugar. Sometimes that's not necessarily a bad thing for something like a stout, where you want to have a thicker body to it. You want it to almost be sweet. So that makes sense for a beer like that, whether it's a stout or something sweet. This in particular for IPAs or for a Belgian beer, you want to, those are generally dry. So you don't want very much sugar left over, especially for something like this. And I would look away, and the temperature would get higher. Those longer chains of sugars would get produced. Unfermentable sugars is just going to sit, and it eats away into my ABV. What was supposed to be a 10.5% beer is now a 6.5% beer. What was supposed to be an 8% beer is now a 5% beer. What was supposed to be a 5% beer is now a 3% beer. So it's this vicious cycle for me. So I decided to switch up just a little bit for this. And it seems to be working. With regards to the error that I ran into earlier, when the kettle, I think the temperature probe was just the grain bag was on the temperature probe or on the heating element, and it turned off and errored out to prevent any damage, which is a good thing, but it definitely throws a wrench into your brew day. I did have to pause the stream for a moment and lift the electric kettle so that I could have my fiance come in and reset it using the reset switch on the bottom of the kettle. Not easy, but it had to be done. But here we are. Things are looking good so far. The temperature is going up just a little bit in the grain bed. So I'm gonna open the lid here just to kind of relieve whatever temperature, because I do see that it's rising, and that's likely just because the heating element turned on not long ago, because it dropped to 142. At least the probe did, so it turned on to get the probe back to 148. It is now at 146, so it's slowly falling, but that temperature is now that heat is now just rising to the top. I can probably do another gravity reading here in like 2 minutes, and I don't know how I'm going to pull it this time, but we'll see. looking good. It smells good. It smells really good. The smell is less prominent, and I noticed in my electric kettle than it is in my my mash tun, my big mash tun. I'm sure there's multiple reasons for that, but yeah, I'm really excited for this. This is going to turn out great. I can feel it. I haven't done just a standard traditional IPA in a minute. The last IPA I did, I think, was, well, I did a hazy that I brewed for a live stream. I did brew a hazy IPA, but as far as a traditional IPA, a standard IPA, I have not brewed one in a moment. So that's fun. This should be a good time. Let's check. I'm going to reload this test stream and this test stream. All right, so right now I am finishing up the mash. I'll probably do another temperature check here in a moment. Hopefully, if that looks good, I will be able to get the boil started. I'll probably do something like a ramp up of a mash out. I might not. I might just start the kettle because it's going to take what might be another like 40 minutes to go from 150 to 210 to 210, 215. It's going to take a little bit, so I can probably get that started now. And then once the temperature gets a little further higher than I want, I can just get the grain bag out and figure out some means of sparging, or just, letting the grain bag drip into the grain basket. We'll see. I haven't figured that part out yet. But I should probably just do another gravity reading. I'm going to do it from the bottom this time, and only from the bottom. Use like dirtier rag here. I don't want any extra old work sitting in it because that will throw off the accuracy of the reading. Oh, wow. I love this color so much. Oh, this is going to be such a good beer. Hopefully. So there's my refractometer. Yeah, the color isn't going to be very typical of a standard IPA, but I welcome that in this case. I very much want a malty backbone for this, and I'm hoping that this is going to provide it. So this is just creeping up. We're at 1060 now. I should probably, because that's going to give us, depending on the volume, probably like close to 1075, that 1076 that it was expecting, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop our mash. I'll start my mash at 1 hour and 6 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and get this to a boil. Set to 212. I'm going to set it to 214. That way it continues trying to get to 212. I'm going to say 215. Because if it gets to 215, it's just going to stop and not continue to boil. I'll say, 213. That should do it. Set, start. So the heating element's going to turn on. It's already on full power, so once it gets going, this is going to produce a little bit of noise. If it's too much, let me know, and I can figure that out. But it's going to turn on here shortly. I need to get the grain basket out, or the grain bed out. So this is going to be fun. If I could, I would put an action cam somewhere so you could better see this. Can I do that? Can I put an action cam somewhere? I'm going to try. Let's see. That's what it's here for, right? So I'm going to do this and then this. Let's see. hopefully this works and I don't make a mess of things. So I'm just gonna transition to the action cam here. This doesn't look that bad, you're asking me, man. All right, so I'm gonna give this one good stir. Take the temp probe out. I'm not gonna need this anymore for now. All right, here we go. This is gonna be my workout for the week or month or so. I'll say the week because I'm gonna brew again soon. So the plan is to get the grain bag out of here and into this kettle in front of me. In the kettle, I have my grain basket that came with the Smash and Brew. So hopefully this is going to, I'm probably going to make a little bit of a mess here, so let me try to prevent that by moving things out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to scoop this forward just a little bit to prevent any, as much work from coming out as possible. Okay, so that should work. Now to get the basket out. So I'm going to take the bag and just put it in here. Hopefully all the liquid will drain out. Actually, that probably won't work as well as I think it will. So let me put the basket in here, and then I'll put the basket up here. Here we go. It's going to be heavy. Yeah, just made a little bit of a mess, of course. Tastes good. So we're sitting at about 4 gallons right now, which is about predicted, almost spot on is what I thought. We'll know for sure once these grains have, have it come out all the way once all the liquid is gone. I was hoping that the bag would just sit inside the basket. That is not the case. I guess I'm just going to have to let that be for now. But this is going to take a moment to get to temp anyway, so if anything it works out. That's going to be fun to clean up. Just sugar water. I am the squeeze the bag kind of person, so I'm going to squeeze this a little bit just to make sure all the extra goodies are out of it. Yeah, this is going great. I didn't realize I knocked the spigot a little. It's a good thing that didn't open up and come off. So yeah, we're at about 4 gallons right now, which is a little lower than I would prefer. I mean, it's about what I thought, but I would prefer if it were, I guess I can look at this. I would prefer if it were a little, there were more, but we'll see here. I mean, this is a lot of grains, so I guess I kind of took my average of how much I lose to grain absorption. I can't imagine this is going to be more than a quarter gallon. If that's the case, I may just bite the bullet and, well, depending on the strength of it, because if the gravity is giving me, 1070, if the gravity is something like that, then I may figure that out. I may just add a little bit of water to it, just to kind of help alleviate that. so I can get this below 6%. This is going to be served during a summer wedding in the afternoon, early evening. This is not meant to be a super strong beer. It should be pretty sessionable. So if anything, I can probably lower the grain bill a little bit more next time and shoot for something like a 4.8% beer, or maybe even lower. I don't even know. Maybe 4% sounds about right. 4.5 sounds good. So I'm squeezing the bag a bit. I don't want to squeeze it too much as to bend the legs of my brew basket. Okay. This is fine. It's only a little bit of a mess. It's all right. I do think I'm going to open up the garage just a little bit for a little bit more light. The temperature is probably changing a bit too now, so. Wasn't much a point for the grain basket since it didn't fit in it. I do have a strainer that I can use. I can put the bag on a strainer, and then the strainer in a bucket. Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work at all. I guess I'll just. The bag is just a bit too big to do what I was gonna do. It's worked in the past, but the bag is just way too big now. Wow, I should have not done that. Are there markings inside the mash tun to let you know how much you have? There are some. Not in my mash tun. My mash tun, I have a Coleman 16-gallon chest mash tun, or a cooler. My electric kettle here does have some markings, so I'm able to see. Right now we're at about 4 gallons or so for our boil. That's getting up to temp now. I need to set this on something so that I can continue live streaming. I'm just going to leave this in the bucket for now, I guess. I don't really have I can't do much with this right now, so that's just going to have to stay. I should try to clean up this mess before it's too late. It's just even more of a sticky mess. over 5 gallons now. So it's about a gallon of water in the kettle, which is awesome. Way more than I thought. Which means we are now just over 5, almost 5.25 gallons. I would prefer this to be closer to 6, so depending on the gravity, I may just add some water to it. Since I'm not messing around with water chemistry, I can just pour my water that I use into it, so that's probably what I'm going to do. But let me get a gravity reading first. I'm going to use this to clean up some of the mess. First, let me get this off my hands. Alrighty. So this is actually creeping up quite a bit. It's already at 160, so it's already about 15 or so degrees above where we were. So that's awesome. I should probably put a little water on the ground here, so as to not just let this become sticky. Especially since there's some that I can't put up. There we go. I'll just dilute that with more water. Problem solved. Okay, so what I'll do is I will... Okay, that's not good. Awesome, we're gonna not disgusting rag. And I will swap this back to the main camera. Boom, just like that. So now I should probably go ahead and get another gravity reading. I should probably just pull it from the top. I'm gonna get my spoon. Start to skim a little bit. Yeah, I love this color. See, we're at about 20 quarts, so just over 5 gallons. Which is awesome. It's a solid volume. I would prefer more, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna give it another stir. And then I'll pull another gravity reading, but I'll do it from the bottom this time. Yeah, if the gravity is too high, I'm just gonna pour about a gallon of water in it to get me at 6. Hopefully with a light, easy boil, I should boil off just a little under a gallon, which should put me over 5 gallons into the fermenter. I do like to put maybe 5.25 or 5.5 gallons in, because that allows me a little bit of room for a little volume for yeast, because yeast cake at the bottom, the trube, can take up quite a bit of your volume. It can take up like almost a half gallon, you know, a quarter gallon, almost a half gallon of space. So you would lose that much volume, and I don't want that. So I'm gonna move the action cam. Wow, I love this color. All right, so now we're at the point where I can actually, I'm gonna put that back. Actually, I'm gonna dump this because I found a hair in it, which means I need to do a better job of cleaning, and not just use the same 4 rags. Luckily, I've got like 100, and these are clean. So, all right, I'm gonna do that one more time, and then I can start putting my samples back into it now. Now that we'll be able to start boiling it, and not run the risk of infection. Alrighty. If you're watching, thanks for clicking. Thanks for giving me a little bit of time out of your day. Right now I'm brewing, we are getting up to a boil for our Smash IPA. This IPA is going to be called Wedding Smashers because it is going to be served at my wedding later this year. So I'm going to be testing the next few brews that I'll be doing. My brew days are all going to be testing beers for the wedding. So just making sure that the recipe works. If it works, stick with it. If it doesn't, make tweaks and probably just do small batches until I get it right. We are pre-boil gravity of 1050, like 1057 and a half. Let's say 1058. I'm gonna say 1058. I think that's a solid pre-boil gravity. We'll see what the, I don't know, with the pre-boil gravity of 1058. Let me use Brugger real quick, because I know that's going to give us like 1068 or something like that when we're after the boil. What's up, Beer Jesus? Good to see you again. Thanks for stopping in. Hopefully you can tell, but I did do some upgrades to my stream. I'm using a full-on DSLR as my webcam now, opposed to an actual Logitech webcam. I'm still using the same microphone, so hopefully that sounds good. I am using a GoPro as an action cam. I'm brewing beer right now, so I've got an IPA that's cooking up right now. It's likely going to be pushing 7%. I may dilute it a bit just because I don't want a 7% IPA for my wedding. I don't want people plastered during the ceremony, if that's what we're going to call it. I don't think that's the proper term for what we're doing, but the plan is to hopefully get it to the 5.5 or so. So I may need to add some water to bring it down. I do see it, and OBS helps. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've got a little bit of OBS stuff going on, as you can tell. My graphics up here, my slideshow, and the chat right there. I mentioned it earlier. I'm awful with mirrors and like reversed things. So seeing it on the camera, it looks one way, and then looking at it on my computer on the live stream, it looks it's reversed. So it's really hard for me to try to keep up. Thank you, Beer Jesus. I appreciate that. I'll be marrying my high school sweetheart, which is cool. Yeah, it'll be later this year. Can't wait. Yeah, she's super flexible with letting me spend all this time and money on a hobby like this. That's awesome. Not a lot of spouses are cool with something like that, and I'm glad mine is, because there's quite a bit of time and money that goes into this, especially as a content creator now as well, with a YouTube channel and a Twitch channel. Granted, they're both on the small side, but it still takes time and money to keep up. Yeah, I'm thankful that I've got a partner who supports that. Right now, I do still have my grain bag, so I may try to get whatever runnings from the grain bag. It's still dripping a little bit, probably because I just set it right back in there. I can probably set this in the basket now, so let me do that. I'm just going to set this in the basket. This is very precarious, and I do not want this to make a big old mess, so I'm just gonna make sure that this doesn't fall. I'm going to tie this grain bag off before it's too late, because if this does fall, there goes all my grains all over the floor. And I don't want that, so I'm going to tie this up just to make sure that if it does fall by chance, shout out to gravity, that if it does fall, that my brains don't go everywhere. Because I do want to take advantage of the sugars and stuff that's in it, that volume that I can get out of it. So hopefully that does not fall. I'm just going to keep saying hopefully, because that's how it works. Okay. So we are, I should probably add a little bit more water to it, because again, I don't want a 7% beer. Not currently. Not currently, so. And I'm glad this Twitch chat is still showing up, because previously the Twitch chat wouldn't show up, but now it does, which is good. Not been brewing, but I am brewing something that will take the craft market by storm. That's awesome. Yeah, of course, yeah. Trial and error. I feel like everyone is always going to be trial and error. Even when you do get a final product, you still have to test the best way to present that final product. So I feel like trial and error is almost always going to be something that you'll be in the middle of, at least personally. So I definitely feel you there. I am going to so I'm working on 4 beers for the wedding, and a 5th that's going to be kind of a celebratory beer. That one's going to be essentially my all-in. I'm going to try everything I can to make sure that's a really good beer, but it's probably not going to be readily available for everyone at the wedding, mostly because not everyone's going to like something like that. But I'm planning on going for either a dark cherry Belgian quad with bourbon barrel, with a bourbon barrel aged Belgian dark cherry quad. A mouthful, I know, but it should be a super nice Belgian bourbon barrel aged Belgian beer. That's a lot of B's. Wow. Hopefully either that or a bourbon barrel aged imperial stout. Both of which, when I decide, I'm probably gonna get that recipe soon, because I do want to condition it for about 3 months before the wedding, which means I need to get brewing on that within the next few weeks. Dark cherry quad would be good. Liquid black forest cake. Yeah, I mean, I've looked at I've seen a few recipes, and it's just really tough because I don't know what that tastes like. I've had bourbon barrel quads and bourbon barrel imperial stouts, so I know what that would taste like, but I'm still trying to find the right bourbon. I need to get the barrel chips and all that stuff and make sure I have the stuff for it. I don't know the specifics of everything just yet as to what I'm going to do, but I've done a bit of research. I know I want to. I just have a little bit more time to do research, so I'm still working on that. I'm just going to try to continue researching as much as I can. Yeah, they're very finicky, so to speak. I don't want to mess it up because the last time I tried a Belgian beer, it's actually what I'm carbonating right now. It was an orange triple. Was supposed to be an orange triple, but I missed the mark on my mash and a lot of the first steps. So rather than it being a 9% beer, it's like 5 or something like that. So it's more of a Belgian white, or just a regular Trappist ale. It so far tastes fine. It's nice, dry. It's got a little coriander notes to it because I added coriander and orange peel. It's dry, bitter. It tastes good. It's just got a fuller body to it than I want. Yeah, triples are tough. I've done one in the past. Actually, my fiance brewed it. It was a Belgian golden triple called Goldie McGoldface. We did not come up with a name, but that was one that she brewed, and it turned out great. So we're hoping to do another Belgian beer. She loved Belgian beers, so I mean, I've been trying to brew some that I know that she'll enjoy drinking, just because, like I said, it's just quite a bit to try to go through 20 gallons of beer. White wine aged wit beer. That's actually not a bad idea for something like a wedding beer. It's pretty celebratory. That's not a bad idea at all. I haven't considered wine aged. That's for sure going to be some research there. Thanks, Beer Jesus. Let me think. I should probably get some water into this and dilute it a little bit more. Like I said, with its current gravity, it's going to be close to 7%, and I don't want that. I'm going to take another sample here. And do another gravity reading and actually write this one down, because I haven't written out one gravity reading of like the 5 that I've taken today. So we'll say our pre-boil gravity was that 1056 or something like that. I don't even remember. Okay, hold on, it's like 1055 now, which I don't know if that's about right. If I added water to it now, that would really, really change it. So let me stir it up and do another reading. Let me get these rags off the floor. Alrighty. So I should probably go ahead and get my hops weighed out, because I do have a half-pound bag and not separate bags, so I do need to weigh those out. I've been wanting to make jelly with hops as the stone fruit. Mosaic raspberry is the first, and citra apricot. Oh yeah, that sounds really good. A mosaic raspberry and a citra apricot. I saw you mention that earlier. That sounds really good. So some of these things I haven't even bothered to consider before up until recently. I've been looking at recipes a lot over the last few weeks. Whoa, this is like thick. That hot break on the top was very thick. Just the proteins getting, boiling out essentially. That was thick. Wow. Yeah, so we're, like I said, right around 5 gallons. I would prefer closer to 6, just so that I can get about 5.5 into the fermenter. And we're right under 5.5. So I may do something about that here. Because if we let this boil all the way through, and if it's a strong boil, I'm going to lose a gallon. Or close to a gallon. And there are some kind of particulate in this, just because of the whole grain bag fiasco we had earlier. Luckily, it wasn't worse. But let's see. Hey, Yeast, good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping in. Right now, I am okay. I may need to do something. The stream chat's not scrolling for me, but. Thanks for stopping in, Yeast. Yeah, I was gonna wear your merch shirt for this live stream. As you can tell, I've got the Barrage one on, the Homebrew for Life. That one came in a couple days right before yours. And I was gonna wear yours just because I figured it was a little less, it was more simple for the brew day today. And I really wanted to try it on. I mean, I tried it on, but I really wanted to wear it. But I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. I think we washed it, and I think it might be still in the washer or something like that, but I couldn't find it. So this is showing 1059 right now. So that's a pretty solid gravity. If I do need to add more, I'll probably do it at the end when it's all boiled out, right before I add it to the fermenter. If anything, that may help bring the temperature down. I may need to make sure that the water is nice and clean first. But I will figure that part out. Right now we're at 5.5 gallons, so I could try to keep the boil low so that it doesn't boil out. Of course, it's gonna happen. There's gonna be some boil out because of the boil. But I could try to keep the boil relatively less rigorous in hopes that saves me the trouble of having to add even more water to it. Well, if I do it, I probably should before it boils. I don't know. We'll see. It sounds like the grain basket is done dripping, so I can probably do something with that now. Luckily, it didn't spill, knock on wood. So let's see how that's going. Not much from the grain basket at this point, but that's okay. I didn't expect much in the first place, so that's quite all right. So let's add this. We're just gonna add this right in. This will put us at about 5.5. Yep, we're now at 5.5 gallons, which I'm cool with. I'll know for sure the gravity later on as we get things going. How's it feel? Look. It looks good. It feels good. I'm not sure what vendor you're using, but I do like the texture so far, like the feel of it. It's pretty soft. The true test is what it looks like after a few washes, I've noticed, because some of these, I won't say generic, but a lot of these t-shirts are just mass produced and then they just print on them when the order is placed. So they're real nice and fresh at first, and then 2 washes in, some of it's fading already or something like that. That's how I've noticed with mine, at least, with my merch shirts. So it's a little bit different, but I'll try to give you a better answer next time, because I only wore it just to make sure that it fit. And then I threw it in the washer, I think. I can't find it. That's where I just assumed it was when it wasn't hanging up in my brew, the brew side of my closet. Because I've got an entire side of my, all my clothes, just all the brew shirts, whether they're mine, yours, this one. I just couldn't find yours for whatever reason. That's what I was gonna wear though, because I wanted something super simple. But today, for those that weren't here, I am brewing a Smash IPA. It's going to be called Wedding Smashers. It's going to be one of 4 beers, one of 5 beers I'll be brewing for my wedding this year. So I'm really hoping that this is going to be a really solid, easy-going IPA. My plan is to hopefully get it around 5%, as close to 5 as possible. Right now, it's probably going to be, well, I guess we'll see what the original gravity is. Because it's a little hard for me to tell right now because gravity is just changing so much. It was 1058 or so, 1060 or so when I just checked. 1059 I think was the exact reading. And that's still pre-boil. I mean, we are boiling. We're at 193 right now, so we'll probably know soon. Let me check what Brugger says what it should be. Yeah, it estimated about 1063, which is about right. I think it was like I said, 1060 was I think one of my first ones. And it mentions a OG of 1072. So an estimated original gravity of 1072, which would give us a close to 7% beer, which generally would be fine. Typically, I'd be like, cool, let's roll with it. But I do want this to be as close to the wedding product as possible. So I may end up diluting it a bit with some water. We'll see. I may have to though, but we'll see. But thanks for stopping in, Beer Jesus. Yeast, thanks for popping in. I do have, like I said, I ordered this, and this feels good. It looks good. I dig the MTV esque, like the style. I like it. It fits my 90s look, my retro style that I have. Yeah, I don't even think I wrote any of this out yet, outside of my mash temp. Yep, that's all I've gotten so far. The hop we're going with today is El Dorado. I love this hop, so I'm going to be using that for my smash. I should probably weigh out all that stuff now, because I do have an 8 ounce, I have a half-pound bag opposed to individual bags. So I'm going to need to weigh these out. I did grab a few containers. Where is my recipe? I do have my recipe pulled up too. So let me take a look at that. Let's see, mash boil. Okay. Let me go back. So I'm going to do a half ounce at the top of the boil. A half ounce at the top of the boil, a half ounce halfway through, so with 30 minutes in, and 3 ounces during for flame out during a whirlpool. So once it gets nice and going, I'm gonna toss in some yeast nutrient, about 15 minutes left in the boil, and then when at the end of the boil, I'm gonna drop the temp to about 180 for a whirlpool with the use of my pump and whirlpool arm. Hopefully that works. And I'm gonna whirlpool with 3 ounces. So hopefully that works. That should be great. And then let's see. I might not put my wort chiller in it yet, or at least until it's like actually time to chill it, because I don't want the yeast nutrient or the whirlpool hops or anything like that to get messed with at all. So I'll probably put my hop spider in the middle of the kettle, drop my hops in, and make sure that there's a nice whirlpool going. Let me go ahead and get these weighed out. So hopefully this works. I don't know how. I just need, okay, so. So let me. Make sure it's on ounces. That's gram. Where's the unit? Okay. Alright, so I need to measure out a 1/2 ounce. Okay. Okay. All right. What? The weight keeps getting thrown off, and it's. I've got an idea. I'll just use the lid because it seems to be a little bit heavier, so it should move less. Okay. So I just need a 1/2 ounce, and then another 1/2 ounce, and then 3 ounces. Eldorado, candy-like, pear, and cherry. I love this hop. It's pretty juicy, all things considered. Pretty, can be really citrusy. I really like Eldorado hops. I've used them in other Smash IPAs. Personally, I really love this hop. But that's just me. I don't want it to be too bitter, so I'm not gonna put too much in as a bittering addition. There's now a ravioli, our dachshund, his name is Ravioli. There's now a ravioli-sized hole under our fence because he is a dachshund and they dig. And he has dug a small hole, hey Ravioli, in the fence right below it, and is just getting out, which is not cool, which is really not cool. Ravi. I'm just going to leave him in the garage. So I've got my first 1/2 ounce measured out for my bittering addition. Second 1/2 ounce. This one I'm going to do 3. Oh, get the hop off the floor. I'm gonna try to get this as close to 2 as possible, and then just do a 1 ounce because this is not gonna. Who do we have in here? Oh, Jay Reynolds. Thanks for popping in. I remember I got you from the Brajcast. Yeah, Yeast is here as well. Let's see. I'm gonna transition screen here. Action cam. I just want to make sure that I want to have like a visual of what I'm doing here. So I'm going to show just me. I'm measuring out my hops. Right now I'm just going to try to get this to 2 because right now we're at 1.98, 1.99, 2. So now I'm going to do 1 ounce. And then this is going to be my flame out addition. It is a boiling. Oh, just hop dust all over my laptop. Since I've got a few fellow homebrewers in the audience now, I need some help coming up with a name for my Hazelnut Porter that I'll be brewing for my wedding. This beer, as you could tell with a name like Wedding Smashers, is going to be on my wedding lineup, so that's cool. But I'm trying to figure out a good name for my Hazelnut Porter that I'm going to brew for my live stream for my wedding. 1 second, let me go ahead and go back here. Transition. All right, so we are at a boil now. I'm gonna add my hop spider. Personally, I like to make sure my hop spider is clipped to the side handle here to make sure that it's not on the bottom. Our boil has started, so I'm gonna throw in my first addition of hops. All right, so our boil is official. It is 120. So if we're going, we're doing a 1 hour boil. So yeah, I muted it so I could wrangle the dog back into the garage. So I've got my hop spider in. I just threw in my first half ounce of El Dorado at the top of the boil. So 1 hour. So 220 is the end of our boil. So at 30 minutes in at 150, I need to add my second amount. I'm gonna, as to not prompt your phone assistant, I'm gonna mute myself while I set this timer. Actually, I'll just do it in the app so I can set multiple. Ravioli. Okay, so I'm gonna set a timer for 59 minutes from now. Start. And I can't set multiple. All right, so that should take care of the 3 timers that I'll need. The first one is for the 30 minutes, so that I can add my second addition of El Dorado, another half ounce. The third is going to be for 15 minutes when I can get the whirlpool started, so I can start to lower the temperature, as well as that's when I'm also going to be throwing in my yeast nutrient. I'm not going to put the wort chiller in until after the whirlpool. So that I do not get any hop debris or anything like that on it. It makes it a little bit harder to clean, and it is just a coil, so it's already pretty hard to clean sometimes. So I'm hoping that's going to go well. Let's see, I should probably put the action cam and maybe find a way to show me and the boil. I'm sure that's possible. Can I put that together? Is another question. Let me go and get the rest of my hops together so I can close this bag up. So I just need another 3 ounces. Wait. No, that's my Whirlpool edition. So the other ounces that I would need would be for the dry hop. So I'm good with this for now. So that can go over there. So for the yeast today, hold on, I saw a good one. Where the sound coming through? Nutty Nuptials, Hazel, Are You Nuts? I like the hazelnut jewels. No, that sounds weird. I'm trying to keep it as family friendly as possible. So some words I'm just staying away from. Nut being one. The nutty nuptials, I do like that. Or we could do like hazel in parentheses maybe, and then nuptials, hazel nuptials. That's actually a really good one. That's probably towards the top of the list. Shout out to Jay Reynolds. That's probably at the top of the list now. The only other good one I've had was Till Hazel Do Us Part. I was also considering something like Good Haze Ahead or something like that, but it's going to make it sound like it's a hazy IPA, so I have to put hazel in it. So I wanted to replace the words days will with hazel, dazel with hazel. Good hazel come to us, or something like that. I refreshed the chat, so if it does disappear on this side, don't be surprised. It was getting hard to keep up. Not that they're moving too fast, but anyway, the chat box on my side would stop, and I'd have to scroll to see further. So that's done. I'm gonna just put this stuff, I guess, over near the beer would be fine. Let me make sure I didn't drop any on the floor. Now that there's a dog walking around. Come here. Come here. For those watching, come here. It'd be easier if I just hold you. This is our dachshund Ravioli, who is a little digging boy and has now put a ravioli-sized hole in our under our fence and is just getting out. So I'll find something to do with that. So on the beer for today, again we're using Maris Otter as our base, and our hop is El Dorado, and we are using Yeast 1332 Northwest Ale, super basic. Very clean IPA yeast, or ale yeast. I think this is going to be a good option for a beer like this. I didn't want anything too fancy, so to speak. I wanted to keep it really simple and textbook, which is why I went with the Smash in the first place. I wanted this beer to be a simple one, so I figured this was a good way to get that going. Our boil, we are about 10 minutes into our boil. Usually this is about the time where I would start my live stream, so it's nice to see that my boil, my brew day, with the exception of cleaning, is already about halfway done. So that's really cool. I'm happy with that, and I should probably continue. I do need to make sanitizer. I do need to get my grain bag out. I give my grains to a farmer friend of mine, who gives the grains to his chickens as well as uses it for compost. In return, he gives me eggs from time to time. So really cool. Do you use yeast nutrient often? I did for several brews, and then the moment I stopped, I noticed a drop in efficiency, a drop in ABV. My yeast wouldn't always ferment all the way out. And I'm not sure if that's because I stopped using yeast nutrient or because temperature or some other factor that I'm not considering right now. I did use it quite a bit for like 4 or 5 straight brews, and then ran out and was like, oh, I'll just get some more, and didn't. And then just about every brew since then, one way or another, the ABV has missed its mark, whether it's by 0.5% or whether it's by 4. Because I have moved anywhere between 0.5% to about 5%. I've missed out on because of yeast not doing the thing. I did do dog treats. We did do dog treats once. It just takes quite a bit, and it makes a lot of dog treats. And I noticed that if you don't use them and eat them quick enough, at least in my experience, they got mold on them. And I'm not giving my dogs moldy treats. So we were able to use like half of the batch and then gave out the other half. I can only hope that the other half batch, people were able to give feed them before they got mold on them. At least it could have been just from not sealing them properly when we did make them. I don't really know, but they lasted like a week or two. I'm super down to do it again, but I find that as long as it's not going in the trash, I'm cool. Whether they go for grains. I've been looking for people that make bread. I want to give them for bread, but I don't have anyone around me that's making bread. So I'm trying to find people that are making bread next so I can give them my grains for it. I just don't want to throw it away. I've even contemplated there's like a foresty-ish thing where it's just not where, I won't call it a forest, but it's just has yet to be claimed by a residential market. I could dump it there. That sounds a little reckless, but deer and other animals can eat that, and I'd rather somebody eat it than it just go into my dumpster. So even if it gets eaten by an animal, I'm cool with that. I missed a couple batches on ABV. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate, especially when the first beer I was going for was an Imperial Russian, a Russian Imperial Stout. It's supposed to be like 10.5, 11%, and I couldn't get it over 6. I think it ended right at 6 or 6.5 or something like that. So I lost about 4.2% on that. The Belgian, what was supposed to be a triple, an orange triple, was supposed to be about 9%, 8.7, and ended at 5.5, I think. And then a milk chocolate stout that's carbonating right now, along with the Belgian. A milk chocolate stout I had was only, what was it? It was only 3.5 when it was supposed to be like 6. Apologies for the dog if you can hear it. Ravioli may start barking soon. He definitely hears and is waiting for the dog to pass by the garage. Let me try to set up the camera and just transition between the camera, the boil kettle. If I put him on the ground, actually, he's going to run out the garage, so I'm just going to hold on to him for a little bit. But yeah, I've got a few nice beers on tap right now. The one I'm drinking is a... This is the Strawberry Kiwi Blonde that I brewed on live stream not long ago. The color isn't quite what it used to be. You can still see that there's a hint of that strawberry color to it. The kiwi was more of an aroma thing with a little bit of a flavor, and that was really nice when it was fresh. So that was cool. I enjoyed that. I'm gonna get this transition screen off because that's just even more distracting. But that was cool. So I may test the Belgian. I may have either overcarbonated it, which doesn't happen often, but I may have overcarbonated it, or there's a leak in the keg because it is just foam when it comes out the tap. So I think my liquid disconnect is, my gas disconnect, I think it's leaking, where air is getting in a little bit, so when pressure is relieved, foam builds up, and it's all in the line, and it's terrible. I just pour an entire pint of foam. I tried different lines, so I've narrowed it down to the keg. It's just a matter of how can I fix it. So I've considered setting up a jumper cable. I just need to buy the stuff to put one together. But a jumper to go from one keg to another, and just do an oxygenless transfer. Put a little pressure in a keg, relieve that pressure, or hook up the two, relieve the pressure of the empty keg. And in theory, the higher pressure in the keg with the beer in it should push it through the straw into the straw of the other keg. My personal favorite, do I have a favorite? Of all the beer that I've brewed so far, a personal favorite, I would probably say was the Hazelnut Porter that I did that I'm redoing for the wedding. I think that might have been my favorite beer just because it was so versatile. I mean, it wasn't crazy strong. It was like 6%, which made it a fantastic dinner dessert beer. But it's actually, with the hazelnut, was actually not a bad breakfast beer either. So if you have like pancakes and stuff like that, oh my goodness! Like we had a a chicken and waffles dinner one night for a murder mystery party we threw. I brewed the hazelnut porter, like finished carbing that day, and it was an absolute hit. We probably went through like half the keg, probably 2/3 of the keg that night. So it went from what is 5 gallons to probably 2 or 3 in the matter of a night, what is crazy for 8 people, especially most of which don't drink beer. Not everyone's a beer drinker like I am. So if I had beer enthusiasts, if everyone were beer enthusiasts, yeah, I could see us going through 20 beers, 30 beers. But for a group with one beer enthusiast and other people that just drink casually, man, it was really good to see. If I had to answer, I would say my favorite beer so far would be my Hazelnut Porter that I did last fall. I think's when that was. I don't really remember, but it was some time ago. Which is why I want to bring it back. I think it's a really good spring option just because once the sun goes down, it's going to get a little colder. And something like that might help warm you up. It's not crazy strong, but it is nice and rich, sweet. So that maltiness may warm you up a little bit. An honorable mention would be the hazy IPA I just kicked this week. I brewed a hazy IPA. I did do it for the live stream, so you may be able to find the footage of it. But I brewed a hazy IPA and was spot freaking on when I first tapped the keg. So when it was first flowing, man, it was fantastic. I love IPAs. I love hazy IPAs specifically. And that was my first go at it, and I had a really good time. It was fun, and it was fantastic. I did notice for that last 2 gallons or so, it was not very hazy anymore, and I'm not sure why. That could have just been the temperature of my keg pulling all what yeast or particulate, what have you, protein that was floating around. It may have pulled to the bottom, and a lot of it just left thereafter once I continued drinking the beer. But I don't for sure know. All I know is it was hazy, and then it got less hazy for that last gallon or two. It still tasted fantastic and was really good beer, and after a while it was just an IPA. After that, like the back end of it, when it wasn't hazy anymore, I just called it an IPA. It was an Amarillo Citra hazy, so I just called it AC IPA after a while. It was written on there, but I just had my fiance essentially erase the tap handle. I have dumped two batches of beer, one of which was a Hefeweizen that I attempted. I tried to do a brew in a bag, half batch, 2.5 gallon batch, brew in a bag, and no sparge. So I was essentially trying to do what I've been doing with this system. I didn't have this yet, so I was still using a propane burner. But I miscalculated my grain bill. So what I was trying to do, my local homebrew store has a Hefeweizen recipe that I just bought the recipe where I was going to. That was the plan. But I was like, if I'm doing a half batch, I need to cut the recipe in half. If I'm not doing a sparge, I need to raise it up a little bit more than half, about 10 to 15% more, maybe close to 20% more, so that I can account for the sugars I would have gotten from a sparge. Anyway, I did all of that. I did the math, but I did the math on the phone on the fly. So I was on the phone saying, hey, let me get this recipe, but cut it in half. And they're like, okay, well, do you want to do the math? Because I have to type it up like what you want. Yeah, I'll do the math. So I looked, okay, 3 pounds of this. Okay, no, not 3. Give me 4.2 pounds of this. And eventually, blah, blah, blah. I get the grain bill out, but I messed up the math on essentially the base malt, where I only did I did 10%, but I did 20% below half for whatever reason. So I was missing probably like 2 or 3 pounds of grain, which isn't a huge difference. But when you're doing a 2.5 gallon batch, that's about 30% of your grain bill is those two. It was like an 8 pound grain bill, and I'm missing 3 pounds. So that beer, I went through with it. I should have just waited. My fiance was like, "Hey, just wait," because it was a Sunday. I usually brew on Sundays. Just wait until Monday when the store opens, get it, and then brew after work, brew another day. Just do it later. And I was like, no, I want to brew. It's gonna be fine. It was not fine. I should have listened. It tasted terrible. It was super watery. It was like banana water, and that sounds awful and sounds disgusting. It's because it was. It did not taste good. So after it was done fermenting and everything, I just dumped it because no one was gonna drink it. I tasted it and was like, I'm not gonna drink this. I gave it to my roommates. Would you drink this? No. Then I'm pouring it out. It's not gonna sit in my keg. I did kind of waste the $20 on the recipe, $15 on the 2-gallon recipe, but no one was gonna drink it. So it was better off down the drain. So that was the very first beer that I poured out. It's funny that you ask because I just poured out the second beer ever. I just poured that out this past week when I was carbing the chocolate milk stout that I'm serving on nitro. So I did do, if you saw my coffee stout video, it was supposed to be a party guile beer where you would, shout out to Yeast and the Beast for teaching me that, but where you would get a big grain bill, and if there's residual sugars left over, you can brew a second beer from that grain bill. That was the plan. It was the Russian Imperial Stout, so I was going to do a strong, bitter coffee stout at 10%, and then a little brother for breakfast for 4%, 5%. That didn't go that well. So as I mentioned earlier, that 10.5% turned out to be 6.5%, which left that second beer, what was supposed to be 4%, 5%, at like 2.9, 3%. Which isn't a big deal because it's a breakfast beer. You don't need a 10%, 6% beer for breakfast, like unless you want that. Like if that's what you want, go for it. But I wanted it to be a 3%, 4% beer, something super light. Well, I was hoping for 4.5 was my ideal. But I was really wanting like a sessionable breakfast beer. But that did not happen. I did carb it and I drank it and it tasted okay. But I told myself if another nitro beer came up before this was out, I'm just gonna pour it because I need that lid. I have a specific lid I use for nitro beers. It's a carbonating lid with an aeration stone on the bottom. An aeration stone is on the bottom. There's a tube going from there's a gas disconnect on the lid with a tube connected to said disconnect that goes down to the aeration stone. So you would your gas would go through and it would put it out in very small bubbles. And it makes it a little bit easier for the beer to absorb it. It's beer at that point. So the beer to absorb it and dissolve it. Well, it tasted fine. The nitro setup is going great. This is why I haven't put out a nitro video because I've almost been waiting on this milk stout because I don't want to make a video about a beer I don't want to drink. I would drink a little bit of it. We did have a breakfast on the weekend, and I was like, you know what, I'll have it. This is the whole point of having a breakfast beer. I tried it, and it was still, it tasted fine. It tasted like coffee. It was just watery. I mean, there wasn't much sugar to it. There wasn't much coffee to it. I did have to add about 8 cups of coffee directly to the keg after brew day. So it was when I was carbonating it, I noticed that it was super watery. It tasted a little bit like coffee, but I wanted more of a coffee flavor because it was just, after it carbonated, it was just nitro coffee flavored water, or coffee flavored beer, like super light watery beer, and it wasn't what I wanted. So I added some coffee to it. I dumped that this week to make space for the milk chocolate stout that's carbonating right now. I kegged it probably on Tuesday maybe, so it's probably almost done carbonating. With nitro, it takes a little bit longer, so you have to do a little bit of a different math when you're carbonating it, just based on you're working with 1/4 the amount of CO2. But that's carbonating now, as well as the Belgian. I've been trying to figure that out. So it's not carbonating, it's done, but I just need to figure out why it's just pouring foam. So we're getting closer to the halfway mark. We were at 120 central for the start of the boil. So 150 makes the halfway mark. So I'll be adding my second half-ounce addition of Eldorado hops. I'm going to put Ravioli inside. That way I don't have him just running around, especially if I drop a hop. He will pick it up. And hops are deadly for dogs. So I'm going to put them inside. Okay, wow, it smells really good out here. We have lost just a little bit to boil, which isn't a huge deal. It's probably typical, I would say. It smells really good. I should try to set up a better action cam there. Thanks for stopping in, Jay Reynolds. It's been nice chatting with you. Feel free to reach out if you have any other questions or if you're curious as to how the beer turns out. Let me know. I'm much like a lot of us in the homebrew space, super receptive to feedback, and I'm not one to turn down advice, at least for something like this. So if you see something that I can do better, let me know. But I'm glad you stopped by. Thanks for tuning in. I'll probably see you in the next broadcast. I haven't missed the last couple, mostly because I forget. I've been playing World of Warcraft a lot recently. So I would forget, and right after work, I just jump right on because I'm trying to gear up. So right after work, I would just, I would be getting on to WoW and completely forget about the broadcast. I usually have it in the background, but I've been forgetting lately. But this is good. We're almost about 5 minutes in. In about 5 minutes, I'll be adding the second addition of hops. I should probably get my pump set up so that once the 15 minutes pass, I can get it going and start lowering the temperature. So let me get my hoses and stuff ready for it. This is going to be fun. Okay, so I'm just getting my pump ready. I'm not going to turn it on just yet. I'm not going to plug it in just yet. But I am going to get it ready so that when the time comes, I can just set up my Whirlpool arm, plug it in, turn it on, is the idea. I should probably get my Whirlpool arm in too. I can do that in a minute. The Whirlpool arm is going to take a second to set up though, so. I should probably still wait on it though. I do need sanitizer. That's a full-on fact. So let me find a bucket that's not dirty, so I can make some sanitizer here. I'm gonna for sure need some. I also need to pick out my fermenter. I would be okay with using the glass carboy on this one. No, I'm dry hopping, so I'm not going to use the carboy. On my hazy IPA, the hazy that I brewed, that I just finished, that I kicked this week, I dry hopped in the carboy with a grain bag and ended up having to cut the grain bag because I could not get the hops back out. I essentially just I made it like a cylinder of a grain bag and put the hops in it, and just like twisted the hop bag into the fermenter, and once I got it in, I was like, cool, whatever. And then it was getting it out was a big problem. Yeah, that's probably where like a lot of, I don't know, specifically, I'm not really sure what went wrong or so. I'm not tripping, I'm not worried about it, but something did. And it's just a matter of trying to get the hop bag out, and that was not easy. So I definitely need, I guess I can use this one. This is probably the cleanest for now. Oh, come on, doggies. So I still need to pick out a fermenter. Let's see. Still need to pick out a fermenter. So, I mean, a couple of these for sure would need to be washed, and that's not going to happen. I have two that don't currently need to be washed. So this one can be sanitizer. I need to wash this out and get a gallon of water in it. And then I can't get some sanitizer in it, let it dissolve. Hopefully that doesn't take long. This definitely can't be my fermenter because this is dirty. Wow, so if I was to use the carboy, I would just need to add the hops directly in, which I guess isn't the worst thing in the world. But right now that's the cleanest I have. And I think I might use this other one because this is cleaner than this. So I may use this for sanitizer. Excuse me. Wow, okay. So, let's dust. So this is going to be my sanitizing bucket. So I'm just going to put about a gallon of water in here and let my sanitizer dissolve in it. And I'm just going to save as much of it as I can because I need it for when I'm testing things, when I'm testing gravities and such. Okay, so that should be fine. Is that a gallon and a half? Yes, it is. It's almost a gallon and a half. So I'm just going to take some out and put it in the other water bucket that I have. I have two of them now, so that's fun. Still just over a gallon. Okay, so that looks good. I do need a tablespoon thingy. I should probably just buy one and get one out here. But let me go get that. I think we're about at our Timer, no? Okay, I guess I just need to add that other thing in because my timer didn't go off. My temperature is falling, and it's not boiling anymore. So I'm gonna try to get this back going. I don't know why it fell, and it's sitting at 209 now. So I'm gonna push it up to 215. That way it continues trying to. I think it got to 212, and then turned off. So that should take care of that. This 3-ounce Whirlpool edition, that's gonna be fun. Okay, so now that that's done, I've got a gallon of water here. Oh yeah, I need the 1 tablespoon, so I'm gonna go do that. Yeah, it just smells like beer in here, baby. I'm gonna open the garage up a little bit. The sun is shining, it's a beautiful day. I'm gonna mute this real quick, that way it doesn't bother you. Hopefully that doesn't introduce just more noise. That was mostly why I had it closed. So 1 tablespoon of 1-step no rinse sanitizer going in. The water's not hot. Hopefully that doesn't completely throw everything off. It does say, a gallon of hot water. This is not hot, so hopefully that's not a big deal. I'm going to mute this real quick. This is not a bad time for a stream check. So that looks good. And that looks good too. So I do think, getting mics, I do think that would help. I do think getting some new mics would help significantly lower the amount of background noise and things like that. Some of the unnecessary stuff that comes out of a live stream in the garage. Until I have like a full-on, like a better dedicated space, this is just gonna have to do. So here in a bit, I should probably go ahead and get the whirlpool arm set up, because we're almost at we're about 20 minutes away from the end of our boil, which tells me that soon, here in about 5, I'll be adding my Whirlflock tablet and let me see. Do I have any other hop additions other than the Whirlpool? Nope. Half ounce 3, and then 2 for the dry hop. I can add my Whirlflock tablet, which is going to be for clarity, and the yeast nutrient, which is going to hopefully help the yeast finish its job. If this gravity is just too high when it's in the fermenter, I may just add more water, because the yeast is not gonna give me more than probably 6%, 6.5% ABV. So about 1065, 1066 is probably the best I can do on just one packet of yeast. I could have started a yeast starter a couple days ago. I could have purchased 2 packets of yeast. I don't want a beer over 6%, so if it is at that time, I just need to add water, dilute it just a little bit, so that I can get closer to my preferred gravity, which I'm hoping is going to be like 1058, 1060. I want like a 5.5% beer. That's probably like closer to the 1058 range. So this sanitizer looks fine. I'm gonna go ahead and start getting a few things ready for it. My airlock. If I'm going in the I guess I should probably just use the carboy. If I'm using the carboy, I'm gonna need these. Okay. Man, I don't even know if I want to now. I don't know if I want to use the carboy. I mean, I definitely don't want to use the carboy. Is this clean? That's all scratched up from my bottling, from my... Okay, think. I could clean a bucket real quick. I could run inside and clean up a bucket. I think I would rather use a bucket over the carboy for fermentation, just because I do want to use a hop bag. I'm probably going to use a muslin bag for my hops when I dry hop, but I don't want, if I use the carboy, I'm going to have to drop them in there directly. There's no other way around it. If I did that, that would almost force me to, use something like to do something like cold crashing, to help bring the temperature down so that everything that's floating around can fall. I don't want to do that. I usually just try to filter using a hop bag, a grain bag. When I keg, I just put a grain bag, get it in some sanitizer, put it in the keg, and rack on top of the grain bag. That way, whatever may pull up through the siphon can just, it gets filtered with the grain bag. So that's the idea with that. It's either use one now or use one later, or both, is what I'll probably do. But regardless, I need a cleaner bucket. I need a clean bucket for that. So we're right at 5 gallons now, with about 15 minutes left in the boil. Let me get a sample, and that'll give me a closer to original gravity. That'll tell me if I need to add water. I don't want to add my Whirlfloc tablet and yeast nutrient yet, because if I end up adding water, I don't know what that's going to do. Probably nothing, but everything is set for 5-gallon batches, and it's not, I mean, I guess currently it is a 5-gallon batch. We'll see what the gravity is looking like here. So we're at 1060. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the 5 gallons. 1060. 1060. Yeah, we may not need to add anything extra. I'm cool. I'm cool with 1060. So let me go ahead and add in my Whirlfloc tablet and yeast nutrient. The yeast nutrient, it usually helps to, the Whirlfloc tablet usually helps to add, to break it up a little bit, but I'm just going to toss it right in. So, Whirlfloc tablet, gone in, a teaspoon of yeast nutrient in. Alright, so I guess I should probably still figure out the whole fermentation thing. I suppose I can figure that out later. I suppose I could use this bottling bucket as a fermenter. I might as well. I mean, it would save me the time of having to run inside and try to clean something up. I'm going to go ahead and put my whirlpool arm in so that here in a few minutes I can get it turned on and all that jazz. Come on. I'm trying to find a sweet spot because it will kind of move around a little bit. I don't want it to. I'm just trying to make sure it's going to sit as still as possible here. As long as there's a whirlpool, I don't really care. I just have to make sure that it's, you know, spinning there, so that's fine. Let me move the hop spider to the middle. Cool. So that's not touching the ground, which is awesome. Whirlfloc tablet and yeast nutrient is in. So now I just need to, really it's a matter of priming the pump, getting ready for that whirlpool. I'm going to put in here, I'm going to write out the gravity finally. I'm just going to put boil gravity, 1060. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up here. Oh snap, I should probably hook this up, that would be helpful. Yeah, very helpful. And then if I opened it, that would be great too. Okay, so my pump is primed, the whirlpool arm is in. Now it's just a matter of turning the pump on. And we have a whirlpool. I'm not going to mess with it. Typically, I'll try to make sure it's in a good spot and that it's close to perfect. That's probably not going to happen here. I'm cool with the whirlpool, so I'm going to turn this off. Actually, I'm going to set it to 180. Set. Actually, I'm just going to turn it off until it gets close to 180. Once it's close to 180, then I'll add that whirlpool addition. Let me get my action cam ready, because this is actually not an awful thing to look at. Transition. Maybe it is something that's a little whatever to look at. Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter because it's really hard to see, so. Yeah, it's pretty hard to see, so if anything, I need to figure out another way to mount the GoPro or something. It's fine, but I have a whirlpool, which is dope. We're at 2:04. Let me go ahead and start getting things ready for the wort chiller. Well, now I'm looking at probably a 20-minute hop stand, so I'll probably do that while the whirlpool, while it's going. I'll add the hops at the right temp. So that. Try to put the sanitizer in there, which I guess it's not too late now that I think about it. Yeah, I'm just gonna put the sanitizer somewhere else. sanitizer in a plastic carboy that I have, just because it'll be easier. It's clean, and I don't have to worry too much about. All I'm gonna do is take it out of here and dump it elsewhere. So I can actually probably just leave this sanitizer in here for now, because this will be my fermenter, so I'm cool with that. I would much rather use a hot bag and not the carboy. Okay, so this is all looking good. I can, I'll just wait, I guess, on that. Our temp is still falling. We're at about 200 now, so about 20 more degrees before I'll add the hops. I could have added the wort chiller in for, all of 5 minutes or so, but I'm going to refrain from that for now. I could start getting things ready for it, though. So I will do, I'll need to off-camera prep some of this stuff here. About 196 on the temp. I'm cool with starting it at 190. 190 is not a bad temperature for it. Right now I'm getting my grain bag back. It's much easier just to wash this than it is to wash the other thing. So that's done. Got my grains taken care of. Now it's a matter of prepping for chilling. So I've just got a couple gallons of water in one of my buckets here. I'm gonna set my pre-chiller in it. This is just to help get the water before it gets to my other chiller, to try to get it as cold as possible. I'm gonna take one of these out for now. Wow, that's so cold. Put one at the bottom. And then one on top of it. And maybe a little bit more water. We're at 191, which is cool. So the water that's coming through should be a nice, 40 or so degrees opposed to the 70 or 80 it might be, which should save me just a bit. Enough of what I need. Okay. Now so I've got my whirlpool going. That looks solid. Now to add my hops. So, there's our 1 hour boil. So the boil is officially done. It's a good thing because I'm about to add my whirlpool at 190. Nice 3-ounce whirlpool edition. Just like that, our hops for today are done. But I will be adding another 2 ounces during a dry hop, so that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna get my empty jugs over near my space for the work chiller, so I'm just gonna put it right in here. I'm for sure not going to have enough space, enough jugs to complete it, to get it all the way to a chill, so I'll need to figure that part out. I'll probably have to use something like like one of my kettles or something as a means of capturing that hot water, because I can't just let it run down the street right now, not currently at least. So 5, 10, 15, 28 gallons. Hopefully that's enough. In case I need it as well. So I'm gonna let that go for probably 15 minutes. So if it's been 13 minutes from now, I should be able to let that keep riding. So this has been a very, I won't say quick brew day, but usually if I start at 1 p.m., my mash isn't starting until close to 2, which means my boil doesn't start till about 3:30, which means it's not done until about 4:30, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, and then I need to chill it, which takes another about 30 minutes, so 5:30. Not pitching the yeast until 6:30. Even still, that doesn't sound about right, because some of my brew days have gotten me, I'm still busy until 8, 9 o'clock at night. So hopefully things are, it should be a little different this time, because clearly it's a little bit better. But, So yeah, I think I've decided this is going to be my fermenter, so I'll probably just leave this the way it is. I'll probably swirl it some more when the time comes, and then just open the spigot here and just let this fill. I should be able to get this nice and bubbly. Aerate it very, very nicely for the yeast. I'm hoping that the yeast nutrient will help too. I may need to use something to capture this extra stuff. all that looks good. It's been a smooth brew day, all things considered. Even with the error thing, it's still been a really smooth day. Usually, all kinds of weird things happen to where I'm trying to scramble way more than I did today. But with my current stream setup, things look good. I like the live stream quality so far. I am going to try to find a way to minimize this even more, if that means moving behind me so that the kettle isn't, I don't even know. I may have to do some testing, maybe with some friends and family, to see what looks best. But I'm not mad at things. This looks good so far. Things are working well. Almost, I'm not going to say that. Things are looking good. I'm really excited to see how this beer is going to taste. I like Maris Otter as a base malt, and I very much like El Dorado as a hop. I think it's got a lot of characteristics, and I think it's very flexible for something like, flame outs, dry hops. I think it's great for that kind of stuff, which is why I only use about a half ounce, 1 ounce during the boil, the rest of which is, post boil. So that should be fun. I could even keg hop if I wanted to, and add some, like another ounce or two into the keg while it's carbonating. I'm also thinking about maybe transferring it. No, I should probably just stick to traditional stuff and not try to get too fancy. I was going to consider transferring it to the keg like a week and a half in, so that the tail end of fermentation can carbonate the beer too. But that would require some sort of, that would be a lot of extra trub on the bottom. So I would need to kind of filter it again, and I'm trying to make sure this is as clear as possible. So I don't think that's going to happen today, or at least for this brew. We'll see. But I'm not too worried. I'm excited. We're down to 183, and we've got about 10 minutes left. So I'm going to turn on the heating element to 180 just to make sure it stays around this 180. And I'm going to turn off full power. That way it doesn't even try to get any higher. Because right now the warm is on just to try to keep it around that temperature. And I don't want it to get too high. So I'm going to turn the main power off. Hopefully that's going to help. I don't think there's very much to write out right now. I've already got the basics out. Again, this was a test on a number of things. My live stream setup, as well as testing this beer for the wedding, a whole slew of things. So I'm just gonna let this continue doing what it's doing. Yeah, that's gonna be for the sanitizer there, so that's good. Yeah, things are looking good. Very rarely, I won't say very rarely, but as of late, my live streams have gone, or not live streams, my brew days have gone a little off the rails, so to speak, just based on how many things, the chances of things going wrong and all the extra things I was trying to do on the side while brewing, whether it was brewing 2 beers or setting up the live stream. This one was kind of a set it and forget it. I've already done a little bit of the work beforehand. I definitely want to work on the action cam a little bit more, because maybe doing a split, show me and the boil. I think that would be interesting to see, but there's just not enough light in here currently. If I had some better overhead light, that would help, but currently the action cam where it's set up is just not great. I could zoom in on it, I think, but yeah, I could, but again, that's not gonna, there's nothing to see there, you see? Nothing to see there. So, but this is still chugging along. I think I'm gonna, while this is going, I think I'm gonna go try to pour a little bit of the Belgian to see what that's looking like, so give me just a couple minutes. For now, I'll just show the action cam to show that there's stuff going on. I even tried to get an arm to to like put the GoPro right above the kettle, but I couldn't seem to get that. I'll be right back. I realized about 3 seconds before I pulled from the Belgian that it's going to be mostly foam right now, so I don't have time to pour that out, and you can keep getting it to a reasonable spot, so I'm just not going to mess with it. So, strawberry kiwi blonde it is. The goes. So, about 5 minutes left on this whirlpool. It's not a bad time to get the. I should have put the wort chiller in already because now it's below a boil, and I need to make sure it's. I'm just gonna set it in the sanitizer real quick. To kill off any extra bacteria that may be on it, because I did not put it in at a boil, which means it's not gonna, which means it's not no bacteria. If there was bacteria on it, it may still be there. So I'm just gonna leave that in there for now. So I just need to move this around just a touch. Okay, so that should be fine. Alright, that should be okay. I mean, it's not ideal, considering I don't have a whirlpool anymore. But I think one's coming back. So I'm going to leave that alone. I'll remove all this extra unnecessary stuff that I know I'm done with. Clamp, where to put my clamp. Okay, so my whirlpool is done, so I should be able to turn the pump off. Move this camera. I don't even have the hose hooked up yet, so let me go do that. So I'm turning off the kettle, the power off the kettle. That way it can chill properly. I may leave the whirlpool arm hooked up. No. I don't know just yet. What am I gonna do about that? Okay, so this is gonna chill for a bit. Well, now it's the real star of the show. Yeast Northwest Ale 1332. Very easy going ale yeast. I'm hoping that this is gonna give us exactly what we need out of it. Right now, we're right below 5 gallons, which is fantastic. I do need to double check the gravity here, but I'll do that when it's in the fermenter. If I need to, I'll add water accordingly and just hope that it doesn't have any bacteria in it. I still have a good 20 minutes before this goes anywhere. I mean, we're sitting at 134 right now, so it's definitely chilling at a decent rate, but it's the 90 to 70 that takes a while. Okay. Forgot that the first water thing I had was halfway full already. So, replenishing our water. Luckily, since it only started at 180, it shouldn't take terribly long. I'm hoping I don't waste too much water in trying to get this done, but we're already at 120, so things are looking better than normal. Yeah, this should be fine. If anything, I will probably call the live stream here in a few minutes, just because at this point it's all, I guess I usually do that when I seal it up, so I can do that. But I do need to figure out what I'm going to do with how I'm going to transfer it. I usually try to transfer it directly into the bucket, and that should be fine. I'll need to take my strainer, because I don't want any extra hop debris or anything like that to make its way in. So I'm gonna leave my strainer in the sanitizer for a bit. Things are still looking good. For those that watched, thank you. For those that are watching now, thank you, even if it's just my test streams. Appreciate any time that you may have given me. This is something that I would have been doing regardless of the live stream or not, so I'm not terribly concerned about the views, because had I not live streamed it, I would have gotten none, but at least with it, I've gotten, maybe 6 or 7, so I'm cool with that. Very little to worry about there. I'm not tripping. So this is about full. Time to use my last available jug. And then from there on out, I'll just be using buckets and anything I can to capture this water. Yeah, I try to reuse all of my water. If I could, I would reuse the yeast. I'm working on learning how to do that. I've tried it once and it didn't work very well, so I'm still testing that out. But I would like to try to reuse the yeast, because this is a very, very, very blanket yeast that I can use. Not necessarily anywhere, but for a lot of light ales. So that would be cool if I could, but currently I can't. I'm not worried too much about it, but it would just be very nice to be able to do it. So I think now's a decent time to stop the whirlpool. I'm going to need to put that wort back into the kettle. So I'm going to pour a little bit of sanitizer into this. Actually, I've got some sanitizer here that I can use. And if anything, I'll just put this amongst the rest of it too. Actually, I can probably toss this, because this is old, but okay, so it's chilling pretty quickly. We're already at 90, which is awesome. Once it gets to like 70, 80, 78, I'll probably stop it. But I need to stop. First, I should probably stop this first. There's that. And then close. Well, I don't even know. Where's it going to come from first? It'll probably go here first. So that's already closed. This might be a little hot. I'm going to grab my glove here because the whirlpool arm might be a bit hot. So I'm going to grab my whirlpool arm. Okay, I guess I can't grab it just yet. Okay, alright, that's fantastic. Very bad timing. Alrighty, so I'm going to close this up. This can come off. Okay. Okay, so I've already unplugged that, which means I should be able to grab this. I'll grab it with the glove hand. Okay. So we're at about 80 degrees, which is awesome. Okay. Alright, so it's at 80 degrees. I should be good to start slowing this down. I'm going to where's my spoon? That's probably in some water somewhere if I have to guess. Even my mash paddle, where is everything? Oh, it's over there. Awesome. That should work right there for now. Actually, that's probably a very good spot for it to let it drain. That works for me. I'll let it keep going just a little bit longer, and I'll probably call it soon. Yeah, lots of hops in here. Just, I mean, it was a big hop addition. So, with 3 ounces of hops during a flame out, and another ounce during the boil. Lots of hop debris here, which is fine. It's expected, I would say. I just want to make sure I'm getting all the work available. I don't want any of this hop debris, so I'm probably just going to let that sit. Draining. Okay, that's just draining hop water. Alrighty, so I think this is probably about, okay, that's gonna do it. Because everything is overflowing now. So I'm gonna go ahead and call the live stream here. I'm gonna transfer this. Wort out of the kettle into the into my fermenter, but it's gonna take me a little bit to get that done. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to that. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go ahead and put up a intermission screen. That way it'll let the live streams catch up. But thanks for watching. For those that did, if you did give me a little time, I appreciate that. If you're watching this later, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can visit justbrewing.com to support the stream, as well as future videos. But other than that, yeah, I got some yeast to pitch. It's still sunlight out, which is awesome. I think it's probably the earliest I've been done, and it's almost 3 o'clock my time, so that still gives me a lot of time in the afternoon and evening to spend with my loved ones and maybe hang out just a little bit and relax. But I got some cleaning up to do, so I will catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, but that's going to conclude this live stream. Woo! Let me turn the music up a little bit. Awesome. Thanks again, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. But that's gonna do it here.